All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, Void Dweller. Hello, OA. Welcome back. Hello, Apparition. Welcome back to Fata Morgana Requiem. Last time, we got well into and almost done with, I learned, Ascento Delle. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. I assume it's French because, the story takes place in France for the most part. But this really, really awesomely designed dude crashed at the mansion while Michel was in his 10-odd years alone there. Hello, Ji-chan. Welcome to the stream. And we're just learning, they were abrasive to each other at first. But they're slowly becoming friends, which is a shame because he's about to die of all the wounds he got trying to come to the mansion. Oh, wow, Ji-chan. Oh, thank you. That is really nice of you. So we're going to finish up that story and then get started on some short stories from the world of Fata Morgana. Let's get back into it. I just need to do one quick thing first. Amion then sung for me a song he supposedly learned from the bard.
I could sing way better than this back then,
he said with a strained laugh before beginning the raspy ballad. Oh, it's Portuguese actually, OA. It means his throne. Interesting. Huh. Oh, by the way, before I continue, last time, remember at the end of the main story, Maria wrote down the thing on the floor of the basement of the mansion, which was discovered by future evil Maria. Well, Guppy Force, she actually found the what was written there and posted in the Discord. So I'll read it for you. This is the last testament of the nice Maria from 1,000 years prior. Our lives shall be forfeit to the witch's curse. Nevertheless, we must lay bare those with sin upon their souls, for the redemption of those who are pure. Should you mean not to dispel your curse, we implore of you, a witch, to mark with it only their bloodlines. The blood of the sinners flows through those who dwelt within this house, but not I. So that's what she wrote. Basically, leave us alone. Leave me alone. I didn't do anything. Which is absolutely tragic that she got caught up in all this. And Morgana even noted that herself. Like that Maria did nothing but help her. And she just got caught up in this. Her personality was altered. I'm sorry, Apparition. I thought it was Guppy Force. It was Apparition. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I thought it's because Guppy Force kept posting all the Archinelico stuff. I am so sorry about that. Apparition, it was you. Oh, God. He did it. I'm sorry. Oh, God. Damn it. Fucking hell. Ah, jeez. All right. Yeah, that was Apparition. That was all you, my man. Sorry about that. Ah, fuck berries. Anyway, back to the story. Every note melted into a sort of indistinct flat buzz, but it was still somehow pleasant to listen to. Perhaps because I could not imagine what his voice may have sounded like in its prime. A bright, optimistic, unwavering, powerful voice. All the more enchanting because it existed only in my imagination. As I listened to him sing, so much that I'd kept sealed away slowly crept back to the surface. Guppy Force is a girl, Void Dweller. But yeah. Basically. I felt like I was being whisked away into a far distant world by the tales of his exploits in the Bard's Song. With Imion, his hand held out, waiting to take mine. The words,
Let's set off to a new world, buddy.
on his lips. But his time on this earth was drawing to a close. Hello T, welcome to the stream. Those fantasies faded to fade into nothing.
You aren't seriously going to make friends with him, are you? I thought you were better than that. Or do you think you'll get something out of this? Well, you're sorely mistaken. You've forgotten what you truly are. And gotten it into your head you can be equals with him. Your heart brims with blight. Yet here you are, gasping at companionship, knowing full well it's but a fleeting illusion. What do you have to gain from forging a friendship with him? Already tired of me, are you, my dear? Very well. I shall take my leave. Despite what they may say, I'm a very kind-hearted girl. To those whose fates are sealed, that is. I pray you're blessed with wonderful dreams tonight.
Hello Tronbuster, welcome to the stream. That night I had a dream. Not a nightmare, nor a dream of the past. A warm, pleasant, slightly bittersweet dream. I hadn't had one like this in quite some time. An endless field stretched out before us. We pushed our way through the sea of waist-high grass, pressing onward to the ever-distant horizon. A spring breeze whipped past, caressing my cheek. At my side stood a man beaming as bright as the sun. He had hair of deep scarlet, like the color of the setting sun. His eyes were unflinching, his lips showing his strong resolve. Damn it, now I want like a freaking buddy comedy of Michel and Imion, like, you know, like being like battle buddies together and shit, you know, like in like a fantasy world where, and they're going like to rescue Giselle and everything. And of course the other characters are there with the quest as well. And more basically what would happen is that they think Morgana is their ultimate enemy, but they learn the truth about Morgana and she's not. And that actually Lord Bardier is the true enemy, and they all join forces to fight him. And like Gratian is a misguided minion of Barnier in this universe. And like they fight him tragically and everything. I don't know.
Oh, Collider and your crazy fan fictions.
Alright, let's see. Back to the story. His chest was smooth and muscular, and he had a musky scent. It was my first time seeing his face, but I knew exactly who he was. Are we gonna see what he looks like?
Not much farther now.
The man spoke.
Our paradise is just up ahead.
His lips curled up. It was a smile that might look condescending on any other face. But on his, it seemed perfectly natural, not a trace of disdain. In fact, anything but a cocky smirk would have seemed out of place, which made reality that much more bitter.
Here on the other side of the sea, in this beautiful land, no one will think less of us for anything. If someone happens to find out about you, no one's gonna make a big deal out of it.
Goddamn, Emion. You're way too cool, but I wish that kind of thing were true. It's a naive yet wonderful sentiment.
And no one's gonna be afraid of my disease.
I was well aware of the fact that it was a dream. And I thought it a rather cruel one. Emion was right. I did love adventure stories, and I did want to go on one of my own. This was the very thing I'd wished for since I was a child. Well, you will, eventually, Michel. Two men setting out together, free from obligations, on a journey to see the world. Exploring the unknown and sharing that experience with a dear friend. But it could never happen. Not so long as I was who I was. I felt that. Ugh. Oh, God, Michel. Damn it, I hate it when I start crying early into the stream. Fucking hell! Oh, God. And not so long as Emion was sick and on the verge of death. It was a dream we could never make come true. No matter how badly we wanted it, no matter how hard we fought for it. Fucking hell. It wasn't an entirely impossible dream, though. There was one part of it that could become reality. The two of us becoming friends. There was probably enough time before he died for me to get close enough to tell him how I really felt. Oh, goddamn it. That I just wanted a friend. They wanted to be able to laugh and frown and get upset like an ordinary guy. Like him.
There may be time, but that's not enough.
I'd spent too much of my life isolated. I had almost reversibly adapted to the solitude. Breaking through that shell would be no easy task, especially not with my unspeakable secret hovering over me. God fucking damn it. The very fact of my nature, which had transformed me from the namesake of an angel into an abominable demon that didn't deserve to live. Something that I couldn't tell anyone, couldn't let anyone find out. I really hope Emion gets to be in the future with them. Which meant that a normal friendship was impossible for me to form. And I knew that far too well. That night I had a dream. Not a nightmare nor a dream of the past. A warm, pleasant, slightly bittersweet dream. I hadn't had one like this in quite some time. Oh, it looks like it's repeating a bit. An endless field stretched out before us. We pushed our way through the sea of waist-high grass, pressing onward towards the ever-distant horizon. The spring breeze whipped past, caressing my cheek. It's the same dream.
At my side stood a man with a somewhat forlorn look on his face. He had long silver hair that fluttered into the wind. Okay, so it's... Yeah, I guess he's imagining them older. A darkness was visible beneath the pale red of his eyes, and his lips were furled into a half scowl. He was tall enough that I had to look up at him. The man furrowed his brow, as if to scorn the shining sun for trying to be brighter than the candlelight he was so used to. It was my first time getting a good look at him. I might have gotten some of the smaller details wrong. Oh, okay, it switched perspective. I see. But he was still very distinctly the Michel I knew. Oh, okay. They switched perspective. I pointed toward the horizon and said,
That's where our paradise awaits.
He didn't seem to believe we would actually find anything, but he still had joined me on my endless journey with nary a complaint.
So all it takes is bringing him out into my dreams to drag the cynicism out of him.
I thought. Then, with a laugh, I said,
We would make pretty good friends, don't you think?
His eyes swam for a few moments before he finally muttered a response.
Many years ago, I dreamed of having something like that. You gotta be a little more specific. Like my two brothers. Keep going. Someone I could share anything with, and could do the same with me. Someone who understands me without the need of words. The classic image of a friend. Two guys have always got each other's backs.
Michel crossed his arms and turned his head away. He might have even blushed, but I couldn't see for sure. I had mixed feelings, though mostly I was glad to hear he felt that way. I wanted to make the dream come true.
We'll be just like that. You'll see, buddy.
Another breath of wind blew past. I was pretty sure I was smiling. The way I always did. The way I always pretended to. My self-confident, utterly vacuous smirk. If we really got to know each other, there was no way we would ever be friends. Oh, kick ass, Ji-chan, you got chocolate cake. True friendship was impossible to achieve between us. And I knew that far too well. Why? Did you do something horrible in the past? Okay, back to Michel. I awoke in darkness, in a house where the time of day held no meaning. The same sight awaited me every morning. Before I had grown fully accustomed to a world without light, the uncertainty of it had occasionally morphed into fear. My instincts reacting, I presumed. Danger was harder to perceive in the dark, after all. But once I had gotten used to it, the darkness felt almost compassionate with its indiscriminating embrace. And now I was more stable here than I was in the light. This morning was an unusually pleasant one, though. All my problems were still problems. My curses still curses. But it felt like I had managed to break the surface and catch my breath for the first time in who knew how many years. Perhaps I could thank the dream I'd had. I rolled out of bed, grabbing the candlestick off my nightstand. With the remains of the mostly melted old one, I lit a new candle and headed for the door. Next on my list was the fireplace. I tried to make sure there was always at least a small flame in it. But as soon as I stepped out into the hall,
What are you doing there?
I found myself face to face with Imion. Although that wasn't an entirely accurate description, as he was slouched against the wall from my door.
Morning, Michel.
I couldn't help but cringe at the sight of him, still insisting on keeping up his everything's all right act.
What are you doing? Seems petty, pretty obvious to me. Well, it isn't to me. You're clearly in no condition to be walking around. It's come. What has? My time.
The light from the candle fluttered about, slightly offset from the trembling of my bony hand. But Imion, he was visibly shaking. Sorry for sniffling all this. Enough that I probably could have seen it even without the dim candlelight. Not out of fear or cold, but simply a physiological reaction to his condition. His breath sounded like puffs of wind, the whoosh of a bitter winter morning echoing in the hall. His arms and legs were so atrophied that if I didn't know better, I might think him a small tree, withering away in the fierce cold at first glance. Oh, I don't have a cold, it just left over for what I was crying before. My gaze slowly drifted downward, stopping at his splayed arms. Blotches of red were visible on the palms of his hands.
Did you cough that up?
I almost reflexively made to draw nearer, but he stopped me after only one step.
No, stay back. Don't touch me. You might catch it. We've been living here together, breathing the same air. If I'm going to catch it, I would have already. The fact that I haven't showed it's not an infectious disease. Maybe not. But either way, you shouldn't touch the blood. You know as well as I do that blood is unclean. It carries everything in our bodies, even diseases. You may be able to catch it from the blood, even if you didn't from anything else. So I figured I'd drop on by, say my goodbyes. Say your...
I stopped myself before finishing the sentence, realizing just how foolish it would make me sound. I was the one who had told him to leave when he knew its time was up.
But that was back then. That was just how I felt when he first showed up. If I'm real lucky, I have maybe a couple days left. I've been hiding it, but it's been hard to even stand the last few days. And you did a terrible job of it. Although, I didn't realize you were in quite such bad shape. Well, I guess I got a passing score on my acting then. How can you laugh about this? I'm in a great mood. That's ridiculous. You can't be. Just drop the act already. It's no act, bud. I'm serious. I'm feeling great. Had a fantastic time. And what better way to show that than with a nice laugh?
looking down on this man laughing as death crept closer. I didn't feel pity or sorrow or anguish. I was angry. My chest clenched and my stomach lurched. How aggravating. There was something else there too, some other way I could describe it. But I didn't know what the feeling was. I couldn't draw it to the surface. It was aggravating, frustrating, sickening. It looks like almost besides the wrappings here, he's wearing a mask as well. Like, for his eyes. I think he is, at least. Those simple, negative emotions were what I kept falling back to. I wanted to block it all out in Mion's deteriorating body. That comforting dream. My own circumstances. This dark mansion. The whole world.
I had an amazing time with you here with you. Seriously. Stop it. You're just getting sentimental, letting your emotions cloud your memory. I've done nothing for you. Think about your time before you got sick. When you were with your friends and family. Think about the time you spent traveling. Then you'll realize how insignificant your time here really was. It was all a lie. What? I was never a traveler. My name isn't even Imion.
Really?
I never went to the Northlands, and I never saw the Danes. Even what I said about having a ton of friends. All lies.
Really?
Here's the truth. I look like I came from the slums now. But I was born into a decently upper-class family. My father and brothers all own several estates.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh wow.
I wasn't traveling when I got sick, but at home. And for a while I was kept locked up to keep it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Holy fraps. Whoa.
I was kept locked up to keep it under wraps.
Michel must be freaking the fuck out. Like, oh my God.
I spent my life doing everything asked of me for them, and they turned on me the second I caught this damn disease. The servants I thought respected me, the brothers I thought loved me, they all wanted nothing to do with me anymore.
For fuck's sake! Michel, you gotta fucking tell him! Oh my God.
And before long, they started saying it was my punishment for my transgressions. That it was cursed to transform into a hideous monster because I deserved it.
Oh my God.
Real swell family, huh?
Oh my God.
The disease hadn't progressed this far either. So I still looked, well, half decent at least. A pretty damn good looking guy, if I do say so myself. So I used that to manipulate one of the maidservants into helping me escape. And that's how my life as a nomad really began. So while I was something of a traveler, I was carrying some pretty big luggage with me. Everywhere I went, I was treated like garbage.
Oh my God.
Imeon you met, brimming with self-confidence, it was all an act. I'm sorry for lying to you. Why? Why'd I pretend to be someone I'm not? Because... No, I don't care about that! Why didn't you say something sooner?
Imeon's story, his life, was exactly the fucking same! It was painfully similar to my own. I'd been called a demon, mocked and insulted, made out to be a madman, and then locked away where no one could see me. Everyone I had thought to be on my side turned against me.
You should have told me.
Cracks began to form in the thick shell I had spent so long building around myself. Sharp claws dug their way through the flesh of my heart, which I thought long since numb. Thick blood seeped from within me. It was absurd. If anyone here was hurting, it was Imeon.
If I had known... If I had known...
I could have done something? Was that where I was going with this? That I could have told him about my own past and we could have bonded over our suffering? No, that wasn't how it would have gone. If Imeon had told me what he had been through right off, I would have seen so much of myself in him that I would likely detested him for it. I wouldn't have wanted to get to know him better. Oh, what did he say? I wouldn't have wanted to even see him.
I suspected, pretty early on, that you'd been through something similar. That you weren't here of your own will, and from your mannerisms that you came from a noble family. Which is why I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want you to think that was why I was here.
Makes sense.
I didn't stay because we both led tragic lives. That's not why I found it so comfortable here. Everything about how I presented to you was a facade, which is precisely why I was able to be myself.
Wow. Sorry, I'm sorry. Hold on, just... I'm sorry. Wow. That... If that ain't one of the greatest lines. That... Wow. Wow. Seriously. There is no better advertisement for Fata Morgana than this story right here. This little short story. Just tell, like, this would spoil a lot, but, like, seriously, like, hello, Lambda Delta. This is, like, the best aspects of Fata Morgana, aside from the romance, in microcosm right here. This story, Ascento Jelly, like, it's pretty much, wow. Holy shit. The right, like, freaking Novectical just decided to knock it out of the park with this one, eh? Jeez. My God. Oh my God.
Everything about how I presented to you was a facade, which is precisely why I was able to be myself. I can't tell you how wonderful it felt for you to accept me for me.
I didn't.
You didn't have to do anything. That was enough to set me free.
I could feel sweat trailing down the back of my neck. I couldn't follow along, couldn't make sense of what he was saying. My heart was wavering, but I couldn't put any of it into words. What were you supposed to say to that? I hadn't the first idea. And the way I'd lived my life, the way I'd closed myself off, I never would know.
So I want to thank you. Goodbye, Michel.
Emion let out a long sigh. Like his nerves had loosened all at once now that he had said his piece. He then climbed to his feet using the wall for support. Let out a couple muffled coughs and started off down the hall, leaving me behind.
Ah. Wait, Emion!
The shackles around my spirit were on the verge of coming off. Everything I'd worked so hard to bury was bubbling to the surface. The man I had killed in order to survive in this empty darkness was being infused with life anew. I was opening myself up.
Wait, I lied too. Or I mean, what I said then isn't true now. I don't want you to leave anymore. I don't care if you only got a few days left. You'll last longer here than you will out there. So what? You're gonna take me in and nurse me? Exactly. Emion. It's damn tempting. But no thanks. Why? I'm sorry. Why?
The first person I'd ever met who could have possibly called an equal, a friend, was trying to withdraw from my life. Forever. Something inside me cracked, and something inside me formed anew.
Morgana! 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 I know you're listening. Michel. Cure him, please. That's enough, Michel. The witch isn't just a legend. She doesn't have a physical form, but she lives here, in this mansion. And she's somewhere nearby, watching everything. Really? It's okay. Believe me. I do believe you. Emion. It's okay. Thank you. Why you were so insistent on leaving? Didn't you want to talk to the witch? I just think now's the best time to call it quits. But why? I do feel bad about this, for what it's worth. And I'm seriously grateful to you too. That doesn't tell me why. Sorry. I want you to take what you're feeling right now and keep it with you. You... What? Seeing the person in yourself will help you see the person in someone else when you next have that chance. Whoever that is, you take him by the hand and get out of here. Go somewhere you both want to be.
He really should have taken his advice. Fucking hell.
You may not find paradise, but you'll have a life.
What on earth are you talking about?
Alright. Now I'm seriously on my last legs. Can't even fake that I'm okay anymore.
Hear me on.
So long.
Wait!
Michel. I think we made pretty good friends. Don't you?
And with that, he marched off down the dark hallway. It was almost unbelievable how sure-footed he seemed compared to only a few moments earlier. And then I realized what it was. His final show of self-confidence. I could have easily caught up to him, but my feet seemed to be rooted to the ground. Maybe because I knew that even if I stopped him, it wouldn't stop me from losing him. Because anything I did would amount to nothing. I slowly dropped to my knees. The candlestick spilled from my hand, the flame flickering out, a heavy darkness draping the hallway. I covered my face and let out a sharp, bitter groan. He had lived here less than a month, just like Giselle did. We barely knew each other well enough to call ourselves acquaintances, never mind friends. There was no reason for me to be feeling this emptiness. It's because you haven't had human contact in years. But telling myself that didn't make the pain go away. The pain of having something dear snatched away from you. A pain I had never ever wanted to have to experience again. I thought I could hear the witch cackling, whispering that opening myself up only made me vulnerable. That bringing the dying man into my house was only ever going to leave me feeling all the more lonely. That I always belonged in darkness, not light.
Thank God he left the bar off. I barely got enough in me to push the door open.
Oh.
Is that really how you want to do this?
Oh, it's you. Well, color me surprised. I figured you'd be with Michel.
I'm here to see you off for him.
You mean you decided to get more entertainment out of me?
A girl with long braided hair stood before me. A smile spread across her lips. Her form was vague, almost a silhouette. I couldn't make out any details. But I still knew exactly who she was. Oh, he had met her before. This wasn't my first encounter with the witch after all. I've been able to see her and hear her voice since shortly after arriving at the mansion. What? And he could even see her. When I
I told Michel that I believed she existed. I wasn't just saying it, I knew.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
You're quite the seasoned liar. Making out like you're coming clean. And then replacing one set of lies with another. Like a true witch. You can still go back and make it right. Tell him the truth, and you'll have my wish. Think about it, my dear.
A few days after taking up lodging at the mansion, the witch appeared before me. She spoke in a pretty but almost childlike voice, explaining how unusual it was that I could see her. Yeah, not even Michel could see her, because evidently
no one with a trace of hope in their heart is capable of seeing me. They can't hear my voice or even sense my presence. The despair that coursed through Michel is what served as the catalyst for my resurrection. You're not here to be healed. You want to put a curse on someone, don't you?
Who is it? Is it his family?
That's right.
Your eyes don't lie.
I'm honestly kind of floored right now. First, the Witch of Legend is real. And second, she's not even human.
A mortal could neither cause miracles nor cast curses.
Fair enough. So how'd you know what I really wanted?
Hello, magical witch. It was obvious, my dear. All that murky filth swirling beneath your smiling visage is like a window directly into your soul.
Sounds like there's no hiding anything from you. So I can just drop the act, huh? Tell me you at least can't hear everything I'm thinking.
And what if I can?
I would appreciate a little bit of privacy.
Fear not, my dear. I don't have the ability to read your mind, so no. But you should know that the world as you living see it, and the world as I see it are very different things. Emotions, such as your seething animosity and desire to curse, as well as fragments of your memory, are all laid bare to me. I normally wouldn't bother sparing anyone a moment of my time. I have a mission to accomplish. And I would like Michel to accompany me on the long journey to its completion. Or any old sap will do if he declines. So I don't have time to distract myself with anything else. If you were indeed nothing but a needlessly optimistic fool come into search of miracles, I would have done everything in my power to chase you out.
So I can assume the fact that I'm still here means you've taken at least something of an interest in me then.
Indeed. For you were broken enough to come seeking me.
I know, Chi-chan, this is unreal. This is probably one of the best side stories to anything I've seen.
Then I'll get straight to the point. I want you to curse my family.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Every last...
Oh my god. Oh my god! Do it! Do it, Morgana! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! I fucking swear, please! Morgana, do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Oh my god! I bet they were both tortured by the same fucking monster freak. Oh my god. Both Michel and Imion. Oh my god.
Every last one of them damn Castiganers. Castagnia, god damn.
Serious.
That's my final wish. The last thing I want from this life. I gave my whole life for my family. Sacrificed everything. And they repay me with derision. Hell, making me into a demon. I'm here, sick and miserable, and no one gives a rat's ass. They need to experience the living hell I had to endure. I can't go in peace until they have.
It would be my pleasure.
Wait, seriously?
What? Do you not believe me? Bitch, I have control over fate itself.
No, I just didn't think it would be that easy.
On one condition, though. I will offer my sincerest wishes for your family's utter devastation. So long as you offer me something in return.
Now that sounds more like the witch I was expecting. So what do you want from me? My life? A sack of gold? My resources are a bit limited, but let's hear it.
Oh no! No, 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 no! Oh my god. Michel's spirit.
Excuse me?
I told you I wanted Michel to accompany me on my journey. But too much of his worldly concerns remain for him to be of any use to me right now. He still racks his mind over trifling drivel.
The stone-faced Michel? He has actual worries?
It's all an act. For now, that is. I want you to crush his spirit, transform him into something more fitting for my purposes. I want him to be a nice, obedient butler. And then I will make your wish mine.
That sweet voice makes what you're asking all the more frightening. So how do I go about it?
Start by using your head, my dear.
It was worth a shot.
That said, I will give you a hint. You have at your disposal everything you need to become exactly what he desires most. Hello, Mystery Theater. It didn't take long around Michel to figure out what the witch meant. There was one thing he very clearly sought. It was something I was presumably capable of making myself into. I had everything one would need to slip through the cracks in the wall around his heart. I was on the verge of death. I didn't know a thing about him or his personal life. And I was a man. Michel seemed to have trust issues when it came to women. He had no interest. Are you. Wait. Uh, uh, uh. What? No fucking way! He had no interest in a lover or a romantic partner, but a peer, a male friend. I guess Michel had probably been subjected to countless betrayals over the years. His mother, father, siblings, loved ones, but probably never at the hands of a friend. I doubted he'd even had a real friend before, so Morgana's proposal was for me to become his friend, and then betray him. Are you fucking serious?
There's still time for you to go back in there and reveal everything. To see your wish to fruition. You could even ask for a miracle instead of a curse. To rid what ails you.
Don't bother. I'm not interested in any of that anymore. Just gonna go back out into the forest and die. So nope, you won't get me to go back there.
I don't understand. What on earth brought you to this decision?
I stopped caring about getting back at my family.
That hatred was what had kept me going for so long. Is what had driven me to wander in search of the cursed mansion. I had in service of it feigned getting friendly with Michel. Until at some point it stopped being fake. I'd found something more valuable than petty vengeance. And I wanted to live the rest of my life and then die for that. With a bit more time, maybe I could have even told him that it pulled me up from such a dark place. And then, were it within my power, I'd have liked to have done the same for him. But that was a dream beyond my reach. He would have to remain in his darkness for a while yet.
I can understand losing interest in cursing them, but you're ignoring the other part of my offer. That I could wish for a miracle. Perhaps you don't believe the cursed witch can perform miracles. But you would be mistaken, my dear. In life, do you know what I was called? A saint.
Well, you're a saint with one hell of a mean streak.
My, now that was hardly called for.
I'd say it was. And I'll pass on your miracle, too. Can't imagine it comes free of charge when the curse has a price. You want me to go in and tell him everything, right?
What do you have to lose? What possible reason could there be for you to hesitate?
That should be obvious, even to you. I want him to think of me as a friend. That is what he wanted, after all. A peer, a male friend. So if I'm gonna go, I want to go out as that.
You would give up your chance at life for something so utterly meaningless.
I don't care how stupid you think it is.
I didn't have enough time to pull him out of his dark place, but if at least he remembered me as a friend, and that had some positive effect on him, however insignificant. I much preferred that to anything the wish was proposing.
Just don't you go blabbing once I'm gone.
I can't make any promises, my dear.
You say a word to him, and I'll curse you.
My heavens. Are you picking a fight with a witch? Do you honestly believe you can curse me?
You bet I can. I could well turn into a witch just like you, once I'm dead.
You very well could. You have all the makings of a fine witch. But you can rest easy, my dear. I won't be saying anything to him about you. Because you're too inconsequential to be worth mentioning again.
I beg your pardon?
At the end of it all, you're just a side story character. The only one Michel truly needs is me. What he wants is a curse, and I'm the only one who can provide it. You pretended to be his friend for a few weeks, but in a year's time, that memory will have eroded away into nothing. Your death will amount to nothing! All you did was cast a light on his isolation, and sooner or later, it'll transform him into an inhuman spirit who lives only to spread curses, much like myself.
Now that I can say you're wrong about. There's more care and understanding in him than you realize. He hides it, but it's there. Don't fool yourself. The whole world isn't gonna bend to your whims. Morgana.
There was nothing left that I could do. I couldn't leave any more of a mark on him, nor could I free him from her grip. But someday, someone would appear. Man, woman, friend, lover, it didn't matter. Someone would enter his life, take him by the hand, and lead him out of his cursed mansion. Someone with giant boobs would drag him out of his darkness. Well, you turned out to be quite the disappointment. Everything I once saw in your eyes has been purified away into nothingness. Mark my words, all your hopes will be in vain, and you can watch from the afterlife, helpless as everything I said comes to pass.
And I'll be praying from the pearly gates that you're wrong.
Well, this is where we part ways then. Farewell, Noemi. So that was his real name. Until our souls cross paths once more in the boundless sphere of fate. That was her line that she always used.
Looks like this is as far as I go. Can't see a damn thing anymore. But hey, could be worse. I feel like I've been set free. Like all my shackles have been loosed. I found one thing to appreciate about this disease. It gave me the one chance in my life to be myself.
I can't believe that. Was he also trans? Is that what they're implying? Because that is in-fucking-credible.
Hey, Michel. We're not that different after all. You were my first friend, too.
Oh my god, here we go. My real name was Noemi Castagnier. Oh, that's meaning backwards. That makes sense. Imion, the name I went by, was just my first name spelled backwards. But truth be told, I was pretty fond of it. Anything else I might have come up with would have probably given away my gender straight up. Oh my god. Oh my god! Nearly everything I told Michel was a lie. I'm claiming I was the guide of the story of my escape. I haven't used my good looks to trick a maidservant into helping, but instead manipulated a manservant. But looking back on it now that it was over, I felt like the fake me, Imion, was more me than the real thing. I'd always felt constricted my whole life. Nothing but barriers from the day I was born. I loved playing music, writing stories, running, riding a horse, swinging a sword. Anything that gave me some sort of... Are you fucking serious? But I was only allowed that until I was about 10 years old. At which point my life became training and everything I needed to be married off to some noble man. Oh my god. I still remember those days vividly. Sitting stone still, staring out the window while I had my portrait painted. I caught sight of a large bird taking off to fly north, watching it flap its heavy wings. I fantasized about riding the bird off somewhere far away, to a beautiful, boundlessly lush land no one had ever seen before. I would found my own nation, and I would be its first citizen. It would be a land without unfair rules and customs. A land where everyone was equal. Man, woman, young, old, a smile on everyone's face. And you would be free to choose who you spent your life with. There would be no nobility and there would be no slaves. And in this land, I would finally be able to find my true self.
Michel. Oh goodness, what are you doing in here?
Oh, Mom. Mother.
Still looking at that painting, are you?
Yes. There's something about it.
You agree with me, don't you? It's a wonderful proposition, but your brothers never seem to want to listen to me. We'll have to return the painting to the Castagniers. And after they went through all the trouble.
I thought that was the other one.
Indeed. But all that aside, it's time for supper, Michel. We're celebrating Didier's return tonight, so don't you dawdle. You need to be there and show him how much you love him.
Yes, Mother. I will be right down.
Don't keep us waiting.
It's been bothering me. Why couldn't I couldn't take my eyes off the painting of the Castagnier girl. But I think I figured it out. That forlorn look in her eyes. There was more than resignation in those eyes. A trace of longing lurked within them as well. She was looking out at a faraway world, distant not only in physical location from our own, but in time as well. A boundless dream dwelled in her heart. I found myself slipping into her place, fantasizing about the same distant land. A place where I was allowed to be myself. And if by some chance I were able to make it there, would I find you there, Noemi?
I think we made pretty good friends, don't you?
Wow, what a story. Those were his last words before disappearing into darkness. Their time together was brief and they knew nearly nothing of each other. So could they in fact be called friends at all? Could you be friends with someone so nearly a stranger you didn't know where they came from or who they truly were beneath the surface? Had they known, though, were they aware of each other's inner selves, never would they have been able to become friends at all.
We made pretty good friends.
I think that one is probably for Michel. It was precisely because the two knew nothing about nothing that they were able to know of one another. A friend by any other name. Damn! That was incredible! Okay. Wow, that was so awesome! Hooray, oh my god! That was a phenomenal side story. The vast majority of happenings in this world not recorded in stories. Trifling or adding no meaning. I guess each day we relentlessly discard unnecessary fragments of our lives. Fragments certainly lost death cell. God damn it, I hate the auto scroll. Tales afforded not their moment in the limelight, left to waste away in obscurity. Time for short stories. Here we go. Oh, I know this one's about Georges. Okay. That was a fantastic friendship story, Lambda. Yeah, like I agree with Chichan. Like they were using extremely similar language to what they used for Michel. So I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, either way, who knows? Cause all right, a slow killing poison. Let's go with the short stories. Okay, now we got a Giselle story. All right. The maid spoke little of what happened after the white-haired girl's disappearance in the era of roses. For she believed the rest of the tale insignificant, of no value to share with her listener, the white-haired girl herself. This is back when Giselle thinks that Michel is the white-haired girl, and I thought that too, because, you know, they look similar. Thus, her role as a storyteller ended with the girl's departure from the stage. And while the other characters' stories continued on, they were cut from the script, afforded not their moment in the limelight, left to waste away in obscurity. Oh, okay, I see. So we're going to see what happened to good old Mel after that story. Arthur Baldwin was vexed. Shortly before they were married, his engagement with Nellie Rhodes, eldest daughter of the Rhodes family, had been broken off. He understood, it's in novel form, I say. He understood well enough why it happened, and had it been his decision, he likely would have made the same one. So Arthur's dissatisfaction lay not with the dissolution itself, nor did he bear any fault in it. His bride-to-be had simply been gripped by madness. I hear she attacked an Abigail. Oh, I was told she took one of her eyes out. Goddamn, Nellie got fucked up. Well, you know, Shakespeare times Nellie. Even worse, she killed her. Well, we know that's not true. Those are but rumors, my dears. The truth is so much more dreadful. I used to work at Rhodes Manor, you see, and the young lady, she... Initially, Arthur was skeptical of what people were saying. He assumed the tales were being exaggerated as they spread. But when the head of the Rhodes family came personally to deliver reparations and formally nullify the engagement, he gave Arthur a rough overview of what had happened. It was apparently true that Nellie had assaulted an Abigail,
And it was true that she spent most of her time in her room now, looking pale and sickly and drained of her spirits. And then, when he said outright,
The demon possessed her.
Arthur had little choice but to believe something that wasn't right. Oh no, that was the father saying that. And to top it all off, Nellie's older brother Mel ran off to become a priest, presumably to get away from everything. Nellie's father implored Arthur to remain discreet about her situation. Not that he had any intention of going around and spreading personal details about her life. Arthur was the guy that Nellie was going to be forced to marry in the very first story of the original game. However, rumors have a nasty way of slipping through the tiniest of cracks, sneaking around through the dark like a seasoned cat burglar. What nobles like to refer to as social gatherings, or in fact practice more like gossip gatherings. And in short order, the Rhodes family's eldest daughter was the talk of high society. Incidentally, the painter whose downfall eventually culminated into this tragedy was also strangled by the noble grapevine, though Arthur had no way of knowing this as much. Perhaps the painter's curse extended beyond the girl's hair color. And the Rhodes family was destined to be brought to ruin by the gossip of their fellow aristocrats. One evening, Arthur decided he would sneak into Rhodes Manor. He had requested visitations with Nellie on numerous occasions, but had been turned away every time. She's in no condition for company, was what they kept telling him, which left him with no choice but to see her uninvited. The aroma of the roses seemed more overpowering at night than during the day, and he wasn't sure whether it was just his imagination. The nagging irritation it caused in him was, however, not only in his mind. Arthur instructed his coachman to wait on the street a little ways out and make the rest of the way on to the manor on foot, entering through the garden. As he waded through the sea of roses, he clenched his teeth. Arthur preferred restraint when it came to both gardening and girls.
What am I doing with my life? How did I end up here thinking about trying to find that obnoxious little girl's room?
Arthur had few pleasant memories of this rose garden. The Rhodes and Baldwins had a long history. As a child, he would often find himself left here to play while the adults did business. It was him, Nellie, who could never seem to stop hanging off her brother, and Mel, textbook definition of a well-behaved aristocrat boy. Not once had he managed to step into the siblings' private world. There was only room for the two of them, leaving Arthur stuck out there all by himself. The best he could manage was a little teasing now and then. For example, saying her hair looked like the color of fallen leaves.
I never asked for this engagement anyway. Who would even want to marry a girl who thinks herself some kind of princess? Not me, that's for sure. But still.
He had known her practically his whole life. Of course, he was going to be curious when people were saying that she had gone mad or been possessed by a demon. He was just curious, he told himself as he drew nearer to Nellie's window. The curtains appeared to be drawn. He couldn't see anything inside. So he crouched down to pick up a few pebbles to toss over the veranda.
few soft taps rang out into the night before the curtain finally shifted. A few moments later, a young girl stumbled out into the moonlight. Despite already knowing the answer, his first thought was, who is that?
Who's that?
He wanted to smack himself, but at the same time it was hard to deny the discrepancies between the girl standing there and the girl of his memories. The moonlight seemed to give her flaxen hair a ghostly bluish tint. It fluttered in a passing breeze, and Arthur felt something about her he'd never felt before.
She's so pretty. Whoa, slow down. What's wrong with you? Pretty? That self-centered, spoiled little brat?
There wasn't a trace of the rambunctious Nellie he knew to be found. I would love to see what Nellie looks like as an adult. She stood there by the veranda's railing, gazing vaguely off into space like a pensive spirit. It wasn't at all what Arthur had expected to see when he came calling. He assumed she would be nothing but skin and bones, haggard and unsightly.
Now, Lady Nellie, do you think it not rude to at least greet me? Do you think it rude to not at least greet me? We were engaged, as you might recall.
Her eyes still unfocused. Nellie turned her gaze down toward where Arthur stood. It was a reaction, but he still felt as though she had snubbed him, which did little to alleviate the irritation building up since he had arrived.
Look, it's like a scene right out of your beloved Romeo and Juliet. Not that I'm here enthusiastically, of course.
Mumbling complaints to himself, Arthur climbed a nearby tree, leaping from a branch onto the veranda. And there she was, within arm's reach, but as distant as ever. Still, he could see nothing in her eyes.
Hello? Say something already, would you, Nellie?
Perhaps she really had lost her mind, just not in the way he had been led to believe. Arthur spent a few moments pondering how to proceed. He didn't consider him a model gentleman like Mel, not even slightly, but he wasn't so crass as to laugh it off either.
You're certainly quiet tonight, aren't you? I'm not sure how I'm supposed to act, but when you're like a completely different person. Every time you open your mouth, I want to sew it shut. You're always complaining. Nothing's ever good enough for you.
God damn it, Arthur, you have no tact.
Right now, I just want you to say something. Anything. How am I supposed to know what's going through your head if you don't tell me? Or is there just nothing at all?
Nellie's gaze glided past Arthur to the rose garden behind him.
Nellie, are you listening to me?
He tried again and again to get her attention. Calling her name, waving his hand in front of her face, gently tugging on her hair. But all his attempts were fruitless. She simply stood there, lifeless, a well-crafted doll. He wasn't sure exactly how to describe how he felt. Slightly unsettled to start. A bit of a pity to go with it. And a great deal of something yanking at his insides. Arthur had few pleasant memories with the roads. That didn't mean he wanted to erase his past with them entirely, though. But looking at her, this empty shell, he felt almost as though those days were disappearing with her.
How irritating.
He knew the word wasn't right, but he went with it anyway, heaving a sigh after letting it linger in the air for a moment.
It's always been like this. I'm no more than a buzzing insect to you. Can't stand this dreadful rose garden. It was exhausting having to come here again and again. This is our families are close.
Jesus Christ, man. God. What an asshole. Jeez.
I try to say something and go running off in your darling brother's arms. Do you smell this? Do you smell that? Is that all you know what to say? He would just give you a half-hearted smile and pretend to be sorry for not paying attention to you.
Arthur looked out over the garden as well. He was more talking to himself than he was to Nellie.
I'm sure you don't remember, but one time I even brought you flowers. What were they? Some kind of anemone, I think? But you wouldn't take them. You said the roses here were prettier, so you didn't need my flowers. What a miserable day that was.
But standing beside the silent specter, melancholy overwhelmed any anger or frustration he might have otherwise felt. Perhaps it was because nothing he said managed to elicit any reaction out of her. Or perhaps because he wished he had come out and said this all sooner. Unless expressed, feelings merely fester.
I don't care one bit about you. And I mean that. It's only ever been about doing what's best for my family.
Of course, Nellie was a perfect example of why you couldn't let everything out either. The gossip spoke not only of her attacking Abigail, but of her destroying her relationship with her brother. And that was likely what had done the most damage. Knowing what he knew of Nellie in her younger days, Arthur had little trouble believing what the rumors said. Oh, thanks, Apparition. How much longer would you say the second one is? That her affection for Mel went far beyond simple familial love.
Well, it was for my family. But that doesn't mean I wasn't going to try to get along with you. You probably don't believe me since I certainly never acted like it. But I generally did want us to be on good terms.
Oh, so we must be almost done with this one.
It's just, you had to be the one who changed first.
Thank you, Apparition.
You're always treating me like I was worthless. Like I meant nothing to you. Not like any of that would have even left an impression in your one-track mind, of course.
I have a feeling he's being tsundere almost here. I think he did care for her, but he's just frustrated that she never even batted an eye at him.
But that's why I wanted you to take the first step. I'm not some wise old monk who can just turn my frustration off on command.
Arthur let out another sigh.
Do you think anything would have gone differently? I could have been more grown up.
A gust of wind blew through, sending up a flurry of rose petals, carrying them up past the two of them and through the velvet curtains into Nellie's bedchamber. A faint smile crossed her lips. Arthur could only guess at what was going through her mind, what was reflected in her eyes. Oh, music changed. In her room, he could see several pairs of small children's shoes, a doll with its hair all neatly made up, a pile of sheet music drawn up for her by a respected composer years earlier, and toys carved from wood. It was like he was looking through a window into the past. That was all he needed to know. He could have treated her like the princess she thought she was, and she would have gone down the same path. Nellie's eyes were on one person only. Arthur wasn't even a shadow on her peripheral.
Your brother's still smiling for you in there, isn't he?
And that was all she needed. After that night, Arthur stayed away from the roads and never mentioned the siblings again.
It was the best thing to do, he thought. He had his own life to worry about. But fate wouldn't allow him to avoid hearing about the family from time to time. About 4 years later, Nellie, who had apparently fallen ill, passed away at the young age of 18. I remember them saying that, yeah. The Rhodes had a small funeral service, which Mel did not attend. Damn. Arthur couldn't even begin to imagine what he, her brother, felt about it. Another 3 years later, Mel followed behind her. Wow. At the age of 24, he threw himself off the top of a church tower. Holy shit! According to those near him, he had been acting unusual in the months leading up to his death, claiming he could hear a woman's voice talking to him. Morgana, was that you? God damn it. If he had taken his life out of grief, 3 years seemed like too long of a gap. Perhaps it had built up over time, and that was how long it took to reach the boiling point. But that's not how it felt to Arthur. Felt like Mel had been guided there by higher power. Yeah, that was Morgana. Oh, God. Or maybe pushed. And there was one other strange detail. He had died at exactly the strike of noon. Yep, definitely Morgana. As the bell rang its 12th toll. Oh, wow. Oh, that was short. That was short. Okay, you guys, I'll just go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay, so if they're all that short, Apparition, then yeah, I'll just read them all today. I'll make this slightly longer than normal episode. Because, yeah, I definitely want to catch up. So, yeah, so next Fata Morgana can be the Happily Ever After and the first part of the bonus.
All right, I am back. So that was that one. Now I wonder what this was about. Defectives. We can pretty much guess what number 3 is about. But let's see. Next short story. Here we go. It's the longest of them. Yeah, I'm guessing they'll all be in novel form. I'm guessing. Oh, it's gonna be about Yukimasa. Oh, wow. Oh my god, you guys, we're gonna get Yukimasa's past. Holy shit. Woo! In the distant Hoei area, where the Tokugawa shogunate governed feudal Japan, Yukimasa Ida made his living far to the west. With little knowledge of what lay beyond the borders of his own native country. Oh, I'm sorry, apparition. If you ever want to talk, you know, you can always send me a message, you know, apparition. Seriously. The land of the rising sun was an isolated nation, turning nearly everyone away save for traders from a few specific regions. That's right, until Admiral Perry. And those restrictions applied equally to Japanese who had departed the country before they were put in place. Yukimasa was a third-generation immigrant, having never once set foot in his homeland. And for that reason, as a child, he held a great adoration for the glorious nation described by his grandfather. Seriously, you too, Ji-chan, please. You guys could always talk to me. Yeah, I don't know if this is door 2 Yukimasa or main Yukimasa. And he was particularly fond of the katana, passed down to him by his grandfather. Though it bore no name, the blade had a curiously bestial glimmer that entranced Yukimasa at first sight. The katana had belonged to Yukimasa's grandmother, but she had passed away before he was born. Interesting. His grandfather described her as a skilled swordswoman, slight in frame but easily able to take down several men from more than twice her size. After his grandfather passed and bequeathed unto him the blade, Yukimasa would from time to time see phantoms of a young woman drenched in blood. Jeez, some straight up The Ring grudge shit. She had sharp, narrow eyes like him that looked more like his than even his parents. He felt almost as though his own reflection had stepped out of the mirror to cut him down. Or like they were a pair of killers, standing shoulder to shoulder. With each recurrence of this illusion, it took root even deeper into his soul, so it was like a cursed sword. And Yukimasa grew ever more certain that one day he would cross over into her world. That he was simply holding in his true nature. That the beast dwelling within him would break loose eventually. This tale, however, is of a time when he was still more man than beast. Defectives. And oh, yep. Okay, this is door 2. Yep. In the wake of framing and killing 2 crewmates for smuggling Spanish silver, Yukimasa was having something of an identity crisis. I remember this. This is the flashback that he had. On both occasions, he had been smiling during the act, at least according to those who had seen him. If what they said was true, he wasn't conscious of it, but he didn't practically doubt their words either, particularly doubt. It was in all likelihood true.
He had killed 2 men and enjoyed doing it. What unsettled Yukimasa most, though, was that his initial reaction was, I wonder what I'm going to become. Not a moment's concern for the men whose lives he had stolen. Once their still warm bodies hit the water, that was that. He held no nostalgia for the months they had spent out at sea together. He didn't care what kind of men they had been, or how much their families might grieve over the loss. Yukimasa wondered that if that made him narcissistic. The lack of interest in anyone but himself seemed to fit the bill, but didn't actually feel like he held himself in very high stature. He simply had this vague awareness of himself as a twisted, unsightly creature. On that day, the ship stopped at a small port town to replenish supplies and gave the crew a few days to stretch their legs. I think so, Mystery Theater. It was still about 2 months out from Amsterdam, where his beloved awaited his return. I think it is.
What a hellish trip. Oh, that was a crewman.
What a hellish trip that was.
A crewman of Western origin naturally muttered.
If I ever have to hear the word smuggle again, it'll be too damn soon. The way the whole crew's got their cheeks clenched after that about driven me mad. Not blaming you, I mean just how...
Oh, that's the same guy.
If I never have to hear the word smuggle again, it'll be too damn soon. The way the whole crew's got their cheeks clenched after that about driven me mad. Not blaming you, I mean, just how it is.
Yukimasa shook his head and gave the man a faint smile. And in his mind, he chuckled about how no one could seem to see through his mask. The blame lay with him for much more than just the tension on the ship.
Real shit job you got stuck with there. I don't know if I'd have been able to do it and keep a straight face like you did. Bet you're aching to let off some steam, ain't you? You can be straight with me.
I could certainly stand for some relief, yes.
That much was true. However, Yukimasa meant it in a very different way.
Come with me tonight, then. I know the perfect place to get you just what you need. Sure as hell won't end in massive slaughter.
The tan seaman smirked, which was all Yukimasa needed to know what he was insinuating. He hesitated to come up with a response.
Worried about Captain Asama? Don't. I ain't gonna tell him. Besides, it's not like he doesn't need to have needs too, you get me?
Some of the crew knew that Yukimasa was romantically involved with the captain's daughter. And that the man standing before him seemed to assume his hesitation stemmed from that. The Captain Asama would, as the seafarer had said, spend his time off satisfying his personal needs. I mean, it's up to personal interpretation whether you see prostitutes as cheating. That's kind of a gray area. Although I think I would still have the partner check. I don't think that's as bad as actual cheating. But it's definitely different. That was just part of the life on the sea. Everyone understood and no one considered it being unfaithful. I mean, if he was actually trying to romance somebody, then yeah, that sucks. That's really shitty of him. But if he's, spending the night at a whorehouse, I think that's different. Requiring a ship full of vigorous young men to save themselves for their partners, who they would often not see for months at a time, could in fact be considered a form of torture. There were a number of brothels scattered about the port town. For them, sailors are practically their ideal clients. A ship only stayed around for a few days to a week, meaning no time to get attached or cause other similar problems. About the only complaint a prostitute might have is that the sailors tended to be quite pent up. They weren't the kind of clientele a new recruit could just generally handle.
That settles it. Tonight, grab something to eat, and then we'll meet up.
Yukimasa forced a smile for the man, who had taken his silence as a yes. But he wasn't worried about Captain Asama finding out or being unfaithful to Pauline. He simply wasn't sure how much he could trust the seaman's recommendation. And the last thing he wanted was to catch some kind of disease. That is true. Yukimasa was paired up with a skeletal girl with faded brown hair, which she had done up so much it only served to emphasize the lack of anything anywhere else in her body.
This is your idea of the perfect place.
He couldn't deny his disappointment at his assignment, who boasted absolutely nothing of what he sought in a woman. In fact, he was afraid he might snap her in half. Oh, that poor girl. As other pairs heated up beyond the thin curtains, Yukimasa's interest plummeted. If a woman tried to seduce him, he would act in accordance with his base instincts, but otherwise, Yukimasa didn't have a particularly strong libido, so... You're not into this at all, are you?
No,
It's fine. You're not gonna hurt my feelings if you want to trade me for another girl. I used to have a few regulars, but these days I got nothing. Sooner or later, they're gonna toss me out on my ass. I'll have to resort to back alley quickies to make a living. Ouch. You're the customer. You've got every right to complain to the manager about drawing the short straw. She sounded like a woman hanging from her last thread.
I'm not going to cause any trouble for you.
Well, aren't you sweet? You're lost, she said with a snicker.
I object to being called sweet, but anyway, I stand out more than most, so if I make a scene, it's more likely to escalate.
You even went out of your way to explain yourself, so I object to your objection. But you do have a point. You're from the Far East, aren't you? Don't see many of your kind around these parts. So it's no surprise you draw attention. You know what? I've changed my mind. Don't ask for another girl. Clients like you only come around once in a blue moon, so I'd rather not let you go. Let's both avoid making a fuss and stay here together.
You make it sound like I'm some kind of exotic animal.
You're cute when you scowl. We can find out if you're an animal later, but you certainly are exotic.
You're not even going to pretend this is a business exchange anymore, aren't you?
I mean, why bother? I'm just the leftover scraps that nobody wanted. There was something oddly charming about her gleeful laugh, combined with a stream of self-deprecation, which would have been less of an issue for Yukimasa had he become physically intimate with Pauline yet. Because by comparison, this prostitute would look like nothing more than a couple of dried twigs tied together. Ouch! But he wouldn't be able to see Pauline for another couple of months. And he was beginning to think this girl might just do the trick for now. Their ship was scheduled to stay in port for about a week. Although they would have to spend some time moving cargo on and off the boat, the stay was, by and large, a recreational one. It was early afternoon, and while much of the crew had gathered together to go drinking, Yukimasa was taking a relaxed walk along the shore.
He was no less interested in exploring the unfamiliar port town as anyone else, but unlike them, he wasn't the kind of man whose first instinct was to go straight to the pub. They all jabbed at him for being stiff and tight-assed, none the wiser to the primal urges he kept buried within. And who would ever suspect it either? Who could watch him walk up to an elderly man fishing on the dock, ask, "How's the catch?" with a smile, and imagine a bloodthirsty beast lurked within? The man gave a lazy nod in return, adding,
Ain't half bad today. You're a sailor, I wager. Am I right?
the man said as Yukimasa made to resume his walk.
You are.
Well, warning for you then, outsider. You do best to stay away from any back alleys after dark. It ain't safe at night, no how.
Yukimasa gave the man a half smile, feeling somewhat patronized by his warning. He was plenty capable of discerning where the dangerous parts of town were, and he was confident in his ability to defend himself if someone tried to attack.
There's already been several victims.
Was it him and he didn't even know? Yukimasa froze.
As in, murders.
Killed, dead and dead. You still ain't caught him either. Wouldn't want any of our guests to end up next on the list.
Out of curiosity, how does he kill?
The old man turned his gaze down, his face becoming a shadow against the clear blue ocean stretching out behind him.
He dismembers them.
Uh-oh.
Hard to imagine, eh? Cutting a person into a bunch of pieces. He don't discriminate neither. Man, woman, child, don't matter none. He's a sicko, complete madman. I ain't found no patterns of the victims neither. None to say we might be or whom I might choose next. So don't think you're safe just because you're not from around here.
Yukimasa could feel his vision narrowing, converging on a single point. He doesn't even remember. Is it him and he doesn't remember, or is it someone else? Oh, he could imagine. He could imagine as clear as the afternoon sky. And oh, how he wished that could be. Damn it. Okay, that's true, apparition. It would be a big twist if it turned out not to be him, but someone else.
Well, look who it is. Fancy running into you here.
Oh, that's her, sorry. Well, look who it is. Fancy running into you here. A woman's voice dragged him back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity. He felt like he had just been pulled up from the bottom of the ocean. And when he turned to face her, he must have still looked a bit dazed, judging from the way she raised her eyebrow at him. Oh, let me guess. You don't recognize me, not all made up for work. It's me, the girl from yesterday. She held her hair up in approximation of her previous night's hairstyle, to which Yukimasa gave an in feigned realization. So what are you doing wandering out here? I wonder if she's gonna die. There's two choices, really. One, she's gonna die, and two, she's the killer that they're talking about. Bored? Got nothing better to do? He wondered if the woman was even capable of being less blunt, especially considering he had technically been her client the night before.
I'm just taking a walk.
Not much to see out here.
There's the ocean.
Don't you get enough of that when you're out on it?
I'll never tire of the sight of the sea.
I guess that's a good trait to have if you're a sailor. Is that so? She said, followed by a softer, slightly exasperated,
I'll never understand guys. But a few seconds later, she gave him a big smile. So hey, you're not busy. Why don't you come to my place? I can throw together a bare bones little lunch.
Again, I'm taking a walk. And bare bones is hardly a convincing sales pitch.
I'm saying if you want a quality meal, pony up for some goods. Ah, so that was what she meant. Apathetic, but finding no reason to turn her invitation down, Yukimasa agreed to go along. I've taken a liking to you, she had said. Stop by whenever you got the chance, at least until you have to take off. I can treat you even better than when I'm on the job and free of charge. What do you have to lose? So that's exactly what Yukimasa did. Seeing her became part of his daily routine. And the more time they spent together, the more he learned about her. She had once been married and planning to start a family, but money troubles led to debt piling on, which led her husband running out on her. And with the entirety of their debt on her shoulders, she had to start working, which was how she ended up at a brothel. That sucks. As she told her story, Yukimasa showed a fair degree of sympathy, but took the whole thing with a grain of salt. If everything she said was true, she'd had a hard life indeed. Yeah, exactly, Ji-chan. Yeah, now it is. Because it's in, yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, who knows? Like, if he's still having sex with her. Like, now that they're having more of an actual relationship, like... If everything she said was true, she'd had a hard life indeed. But there was no guarantee it was. Ooh, sorry about that, Mystery Theater. Yukimasa made certain not to be openly dismissive or skeptical, though, to play the good listener. There was one thing he could be certain of, though. He felt a tiny bit of solidarity in the woman's solitude. The sense she was missing something. The sense she had a hunger. The sense she had a hole that couldn't be filled. The sense that she was defective. You know, we get on pretty well, don't you think? Maybe you could, I don't know, take me as your mistress? She sounded like she was only playing around, but he still responded with,
It's not wise to pair two defectives together.
What's that supposed to mean? She said with a scowl. Yukimasa's ship was to depart the following day, and that evening, the woman asked him to stay the night, to which he was unsure how to react.
Don't you have work?
I'll just say I wasn't feeling well. Exactly, Ji-chan. It's either her or him, for sure. It's not like anyone wants me there.
But don't you need that?
I can survive taking one day off. I want to be with you. And with that, he could come up with no further objections. Regardless of what he did, he would be heading back out to sea the following day, likely never to see the woman again. So rather than waste time debating her own life choices, it'd be easier for everyone if he just let her do as she pleased. Tomorrow, none of it would be his concern after all. He agreed, and she gave him a big smile in response. I hope she's not feeding him like human meat or some shit. I'm gonna make you a feast tonight, she said. You're paying, though. Yukimasa wondered if perhaps what she wanted most was to play like they were a real family. That was probably it.
What she was missing in her life wasn't love or romance, but someone to sit around the table and enjoy a meal with. But that raised a new question. What happened after she had her fun? She found someone to fill the hole in her spirit, but it was fake and the hole wouldn't stay filled forever.
Oh, I'm doing something terribly cruel to her, aren't I?
There was nothing he could do about that anymore, though. Even if she were to ask him to stay, he didn't have that option.
May I ask you something?
He said. Yeah?
How did it feel when you lost your family, your sanctuary?
You sure know how to go right for the heart.
I apologize.
I don't want to think about anything that might bring my mood down. If you want to know what it feels like, experience it for yourself. Find yourself a girl and get her to run off on you. Seemingly taking his silence for discomfort, the woman let out a soft laugh and said, But I don't want you to have to go through that. Supper was a seafood stew. Okay. Hardly a feast, but there was a homely warmth to the meal. Something she had likely honed over the years. When a man is incomplete, missing a vital part of what makes him human, what becomes of him? Does he lash out? Does he lose the will to live? Does he forget what kind of man he is? Yukimasa didn't think he fit into any of those categories. In the middle of the night, Yukimasa silently slipped out of bed and made his way for the door. Wait! But he didn't make it 2 steps before the woman grabbed him by the sleeve. Exactly, Ji-chan. That's the one thing that makes me hesitate about that, like, because they described her as extremely weak. She must have been awake the whole time. There was no way she could have noticed him leaving otherwise. Don't do this to me. I've had more than enough of waking up to an empty bed, and I'm not going to let it happen again. Not this time. You may think of sneaking off without a word is the cleanest way to end things, but you're wrong. Stay till morning. Let me say a proper goodbye.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't what? Of course you were. I don't care if you think me as a free tale for the weak. You're just going to forget about it when it's over. I'm using you for my own personal satisfaction, too. The one thing I won't stand for is you just up and disappearing on me. You're not the one being left behind, so you don't understand how worthless and pathetic that makes you feel. It hurts. It hurts so much more than anything else you could do.
Oh, I doubt that.
Don't leave me. That was probably what she wanted to say more than anything else. The loneliness that had created the hole in her heart was making waves, and this was the real desire that lay hidden in her words. She didn't want to be alone anymore.
I'm not leaving. I'll be back. There's something I wanted to give to you, and I was just going to get it.
And what would that be?
It's, my way of showing gratitude.
I think the word you're looking for is present.
Yes, that.
Her eyes were locked with Yukimasa's. She was staring through the darkness in an attempt to ascertain how truthful he was being. After 10 or 15 seconds of glaring, she let him go.
I won't be long,
he said with a smile. As he walked down the moonlit port, Yukimasa's mind raced. No one truly understands themselves more than superficially. Some say you know yourself best. Others say it's quite the opposite. The concept of the self is full of such uncertainties, contradictions. Yukimasa suspected. He was suppressing himself with his self. So while he had a reasonable grasp on who his outer self was, his inner self was a complete mystery. And that fact sometimes sent a chill down his spine. Who was he? What did he want in life? Which self? Which of his desires was the real him? Self, 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 self. He felt sick. About 30 minutes later, he was back. Within seconds of him knocking on the woman's door, it was open. She must have been waiting there, anxious for his return. The woman made his eyes, gave him a pouty smile, and then slowly lowered her gaze. Her eyes gradually widened, shooting up and down as they did.
I've never been very good about thinking of anyone other than myself. I consider myself proficient enough at conversation, but if I'm not careful, my mind always seems to drift back to myself instead of focusing on who I'm talking to. That said, I've spent a great deal of time thinking about you.
The woman took a step back. Yukimasa followed. Uh-oh. Oh, God, here we go.
And I've concluded this is the best way for me to make you happy.
She didn't even have time to let out a shriek. There was only the sound of steel slicing flesh. Metal grinding against bone. As the nameless katana pierced the woman's breast. Her mouth flapped open and shut, while her eyes were held wide open, fixed on the man standing before her. Faint gasps escaped her lips and sputters. Perhaps she wanted to scream. Perhaps she wanted to cry and shout and say this wasn't what she wanted. But there wasn't enough strength left in her emaciated body to do either. As blood spilled down on the sides of her lips, she mustered the last scraps of her strength, and with it she forced out her parting words. Carefully chosen and enunciated to ensure he heard every last one. You pitiful man. What kind of hopeless fool would throw their life away just to kill a worthless prostitute? She cursed him as her life slipped away. Yukimasa, however, let out a laugh and muttered,
Don't you worry. I still have enough control not to not act sheerly on impulse.
Hey, Yukimasa, hear about the whore you've been banging? She was killed last night, cut to pieces like the others. Fun a coincidence, that.
Yes, I know.
I swear, it's like trouble follows you everywhere you go. Lord Almighty, stay away from me, man. I don't want to catch the attention of whatever evil spirit's taking a liking to you.
that was probably best. He'd be safer keeping his distance. Yukimasa gazed idly out at the port town as it faded out of view. He then turned toward the ocean. That vast, familiar blue expanse. The waves against the boat sounded vaguely like splashing blood.
Can I ask you something, Pauline?
Yukimasa said in the warm embrace of his sweetheart. Anything.
What would you think if I were actually an unspeakably evil man?
Huh? Where'd that come from? She asked with a smile, evidently assuming the question was in jest.
Idle curiosity.
Well, bad people come in all shapes and forms. What sorts of bad things would you do?
How about committing murder? Deceiving people?
The words that came from Yukimasa's mouth were not the ones he'd prepared to say, which came as a surprise even to him. Why had he not been able to say what he had wanted? What reason could he have possibly had? Did he not want to raise any suspicions? No, that wasn't it.
Is being dishonest really evil?
Oh, I think this might be Pauline saying this.
Is being dishonest really evil? Sure, it's bad if you lie to cheat someone out of their money or cause them pain. But no one's perfectly honest with everyone they meet.
I try to be straightforward and truthful as best I can, but I'm sure I slip up from time to time.
So listen to me, Yukimasa.
Pauline gave a wide, infinitely loving smile.
Even if you have something to hide, something you're ashamed to tell me, that won't change how I feel about you. You've got nothing to worry about. Besides, I plan to be with you for years and years to come. You want to know what my life's dream is? I'd love to. My dream is to live out a long, quiet life with you.
Oh my God.
Ouch.
I don't need anything extravagant. Just an ordinary life. Slowly growing older, having 3, maybe 4 kids. We'd never fight, and eventually, before I knew it, I'd be an old lady thinking, it was an uneventful life, but it was the best I could have asked for. This is the life I want. Oh, God. And what about you? Now he had understood. He didn't want to risk cracking the foundation she provided him. The sanctuary she formed around him.
Yes, I too wish for a peaceful life with you.
Damn. Okay, so, yeah, we'll stop after this one. I did want to finish all 3 of these short stories. Oh God, Mystery Theater, you're right. That was what she was thinking when she died. Oh my God. Okay, let's see what Georges has to say. The painting's ramblings.
Why, hello there, Giselle. Doing your rounds again? Such a diligent young lady you are. You'll get away with cleaning this place once every couple of decades, and it would be the wiser.
What? You're not Giselle. That's someone else. Oh, no. You're just the maid? And who am I, you ask? Well, this is quite the pickle. What on earth could have happened while I was dozing off? You think you're just a maid, and you think you're the witch at the same time. You've forgotten just about everything. And I don't think anything I say is going to fix that. Oh, bother. You do seem a bit mellower now and not so constantly miserable. Wasn't sure what to say to you before, or if I should say anything at all. So I didn't say much, out of consideration for you. Not that you could really tell from looking at me, I guess, as I'm a bloody painting. If we're going to take some weight off you, maybe it's for the best. Not that I think you should forget, and not that I won't.
to forget about Michel, but I won't blame you for choosing not to spend God knows how much longer agonizing over it. Okay, so this was after it had been so long in the mansion that Giselle had completely blanked out, basically. She had completely subsumed into the maid identity until Michel got her out of it and got her memories back and such fully. Nothing wrong with abandoning ship, especially considering how long you spent on it. And hey, hurt me too, seeing you in so much pain. So we both come out on top here, I guess. What a cotton painting, you say? Well, thank you kindly. But the truth is, I'm not nearly as an upstanding a guy as people think I am. And it was us Bollingers that turned your life upside down and caused you all that misery and suffering. Yeah, I know. The first dumbfounded smile was testament enough. Everything I say is going in one ear and out the other. Which means I'm free to say whatever I want. By the time tomorrow rolls around, you'll have forgotten all about the curious talking painting you chanced upon today. So we'll start with this. It's a huge relief to see you smiling again. It's not the smile of someone right in the head. I can see that much. But it's a lot easier on the eyes and the heart than how you were before. Like I said, I'm a real winner. I'm not particularly concerned about putting up appearances here. Call me heartless if you will. You wouldn't be wrong. I'm not going to pretend I'm some saint, but at the same time I'm not going to play like I'm a cackling villain either. That's Morgana's job. If there's one thing I don't want people to see, though, it's me looking weak. I'm a laid-back guy without a care in the world. That's what I want people to see when they look at me. My big brother was your standard cookie-cutter, you can count on me for anything kind of brother. I mean, that ended up not being the case, but he sure looked the part. And Michel, he always looked up to Dee, went in for everything, gave him all his love. Dee was tall and well-built, muscular, everything about him screamed manly man. And I kind of admired that too, though not nearly as much as Michel did. I became a painter in part because I didn't want to follow in my father's footsteps. Not to say I don't like painting. I love it. But people weren't going to be inclined to compare us as often. I didn't have to be as fit as him or as good as chess. I had my own thing to be good at. Art. Yeah, even though I gave them the same voice, yeah. As Mel, yeah. I couldn't beat him at his own game, so I beat him at mine. And my whole not a care in the world deal was probably, at least on some level, a shield against having to admit I couldn't compare. If we were a few years further apart, maybe I could have just had the same admiration and respect for him as Michel. But there's not much getting past that boyish competitiveness when you're so close in age. I know I've been rambling at you for a while already, but would you mind sticking around a little longer? After all, it's not like you have anywhere to go. I guess that was in poor taste. Great. I've got an old story I'd like to get off my chest. This is something I was planning to take to the grave, and something I don't think Giselle ever needs to know. But well, you say you're not Giselle anymore, and I'm already in the grave, so what the hell? I'm just going to talk to myself a bit here, and if you kindly forget about anything you may overhear, that'd be lovely. Back before I became painting, I was the head of the Bollinger family. Oh, we're going to see what happened to Georges fully. Oh, that's cool. Filling in a bit of blanks in the, a little bit of missing blanks in the story. I like these. That's Michel's last name, Void Dweller.
though I spend most of my time painting. It really wasn't the job for me, though. A guy who half-assed his way straight through life, so I left all the businessy stuff to my wife, Ivy. Now, she was a real capable girl, capable of being a bitch. If she'd been born a guy, she would have made one heck of a diplomat. Possibly even caught the king's eye. Before we were married, she had a bit of a fling with Dee, which she felt real bad about later. I'm sure she was completely honest about feeling real bad about it. Well, it didn't help that I had a tendency to bring it up from time to time. Not all the time, mind you, just occasionally, when we were having arguments. But that aside, she was a faithful, hard-working partner. It didn't take long for us to become known as the dope and his evil bride. To which Amy would always interject, "Georges is a very capable man. Thank you very much." Now that probably makes it sound like I just shoved all the work of running the house onto her, but in truth she wanted the job. She quite enjoyed it, and who was I to complain? It also meant I didn't have to deal with one of the family's more significant dilemmas. Namely, my mother. Not to be crass, but one was not quite all there. She'd always been a bit of a nervous wreck, and didn't take much to set her off. But it was what happened with Michel that finally broke her. Mom had, I guess you could say, a very particular image of what she wanted Michel to be, and he ended up not fitting that image. Now you're probably thinking, that doesn't seem like such a big deal. But it is, I just can't tell you why. I respect my brother. Michel has to be the one to tell you. Anyway, some bad stuff went down, and at the end of it all, Mum was constantly hovering over the edge. Dad gave up on her entirely, and I just wasn't sure how to approach her, so I kept my distance. Amy was the only one in the family who would actively engage with Mum. So while she had betrayed me once, I had come to trust Amy again. We had a couple of kids, I turned into a doting father, and life was swell. All my problems swept under the rug. Mum's condition, Michel, I left it all to Amy and enjoyed a nice, pleasant, carefree life. But then Giselle, or I guess you're just the maid now, not long after, Michel died. My oh my, you really aren't Giselle anymore, huh? So, back to my rambling. Michel died and I got furious at Dee over it. I kept coming back to that. Who really deserved the brunt of the blame in this situation? It's nice and comfy to sit back and do nothing. You can throw blame around all you want. It wasn't your fault after all. I'm not the one who killed him, you know. It wasn't long afterwards that Dee died too, really. Killed on the battlefield. I was told he died a very noble death, but I couldn't help but think he was in a hurry to escape. Listening to the news, I kept telling myself, I shouldn't have snapped at him like that. Shouldn't have blamed him. Dee had to choose between protecting Mum or protecting our brother, and he settled on Mum. He was too hard-headed to come up with a way to protect them both. Though, even if he had, it was too risky. He served the church directly, and we were all under its thumb.
God damn it. I'm glad they included this story, because I was always wondering what was going on with them behind the scenes of that, and now we're getting a view of it. If word spread out that one of our own had supposedly sold his soul to the devil, that would have been the end of the Bollinger family. I wouldn't have escaped unscathed either. Losing both of my brothers in quick succession crushed me. As soon as I started breaking down, it was, you guessed it, Amy who comforted me. It's terrible what happened, but it's not your fault. That was around when I began sensing something was off. I mean, she'd had a thing with Dee. You'd expect she would have been bawling with her eyes out right alongside me. So why on earth was she so calm? But I didn't press her on it.
I knew I wouldn't get an answer even if I did. And I also didn't have much of a right to question Amy when I was pushing all my problems onto her. Doubly so, knowing that opening my dumb mouth was what had done this to Dee in the first place. And before long, we went back to our normal routine. And about 8 years after Michel's death, Mum was gone too, and the Bollinger family was down to me, Ivy, and our 2 sons. I had started teaching the boys how to paint, and I loved every minute of it. And then one day, I started feeling unwell. My fingers would get kind of tingly, such as that holding a brush for long periods of time would hurt. So gradually, my time spent both teaching and painting dwindled, and even leaving the manor became difficult. At first, I just thought it was a little strange. Nothing to be worried about. Then it started getting real bad, and I'd be stuck in bed for days at a time. I called a doctor to look at me. I couldn't find anything wrong. Oh boy. God damn, there'll be no justice to kill. No one's gonna kill Amy. Amy literally will get away with all her fucking crimes. Amy said I must be overworking myself, and she made me these nice, hearty meals, hoping to bring back my energy. But my condition only got worse somehow the more and more I ate her food. I couldn't imagine why. Eventually, I started losing my appetite. But Amy... Oh, fucking hell, Georges! Oh, god damn, that woman is pure evil. But Amy, she insisted I eat anyway, or I would never get better. So you know what I did? I tossed out the meal she made me when she wasn't looking. I sent my younger boy out to town to buy me food in secret. And for a while I ate that instead of Amy's meals, making sure it looked like nothing had changed. Good job, Georges! I knew it! I fucking knew it! She's a piece of I knew she would try to kill him too! And after a week or two, when the tingling in my fingers started going away, I could only laugh. Laugh and laugh and laugh, and grit my teeth, and cry my eyes out. I made a life with this woman, trusted her, and then she goes and does this. Anger and sorrow were drowned out by raw heartbreak. My firstborn, he was getting to be about the age he could take over, which is why I'd use my younger son to run errands for me. I couldn't be sure the 2 weren't working together. I was at a total loss. What are you supposed to do when your wife's trying to poison you to a slow death? Even now, I'm not sure what the right course of action in that situation would have been. Maybe I could have banished her, had her punished, but remember, I was only head and name. She handled everything, and there was no way I would have been able to pick up the pieces after throwing her out. And my suspicions were right, and my older boy was in on it too. Getting rid of Ivy wouldn't have solved anything. What then? Spend the rest of my days living in fear of my own family. I was by that point worn pretty thin, both physically and emotionally. Every thought led me to the worst possible outcome. I couldn't for the life of me come up with a workable solution. Eventually, I got it into my head that it was punishment. That I deserved it. Obviously, what Amy was doing wasn't right, but my hands weren't exactly clean either. Maybe Mum could have recovered if I'd looked after her. Maybe Dee would still be alive if I put myself in his shoes instead of just snapping at him. Maybe if I'd given everyone the care and attention they deserved, Michel wouldn't have had to die. Burying your head in the sand doesn't absolve you of responsibility. And when I finally realized how great a sin inaction was, it was far too late. I'm dumb, short-sighted, and I hated myself for not figuring that out sooner. It should have been stupidly obvious what my action and inaction were doing to the people around me. I should have seen this all coming. Yes, Amy had betrayed me, but she wasn't the only one guilty of that. When I was going through Michel's stuff after his death, I came across a painting that had been torn to shreds, that I had made. By refusing to use my head, I had done something that denied his identity, and he left this world still carrying the pain I had caused him. By the time I had come to that conclusion, I wondered why I was even alive at all. I couldn't blame anyone for wanting me dead, so I started eating Amy's meals again, knowing good and well it would likely kill me.
Oh god damn it, Georges!
I didn't stop sending my younger boy out though, just not for food. I also strongly encouraged him to move out and become a court artist. Then I started painting again. It was going to be my final piece. Every day the tingling in my hands spread a little farther. My breathing grew a little more laboured. I was afraid I might not finish while I was still able to get out of bed, but I somehow managed. It was the most harrowing experience I've had, painting something in my entire life. True to her facade, Amy stayed at my side until my final breath. She held my hand tight, giving me a strained smile. It didn't occur to me at the time, but Amy always seemed to be smiling, no matter what. In a way, it's kind of impressive how she managed to keep up the loving wife act while simultaneously loading me up with poison. Tell me, Amy, how deep did your poison flow? When you were looking after Mum, did you talk about Michel? Knowing you probably figured out he was still alive. I bet you read his final letter to her. It was you who pushed her to set everything in motion, wasn't it? There were so many things I wanted to say, but I stayed my tongue and made these my parting words. I loved you so much, Amy. So I ask you this. Keep my last painting in memory of me. I had no idea if she actually did as I requested, but the last thing I saw before I passed was her nodding, a smile on her lips. The paint I used to make it, I mixed with a special something I had my younger boy go out and buy for me. A substance that, according to what I was told, slowly dissolved into the air, making it toxic.
Hell yeah! Woo!
And it's some sort of reaction with the paint as well, turning it almost black.
Wow!
I'm quite proud of how it turned out, if I do say so myself. It was a gorgeous landscape painting.
Damn! Alright! Finally some justice! Finally! Finally! Oh god. Woo!
Sorry for rambling at you for so long. That's the end of my story. Or are you even listening to me? What? You have to go clean the fireplace? Well, all right. Don't let me keep you. Just please, make sure you forget everything by tomorrow. All right? I'm counting on you. I know. Well, I didn't say anything, right? I wanted to tell someone. I just don't want anyone to actually know about it. Human heart's a big ball of contradictions like that. You know? You don't? Oh, okay. Well, see ya. It'll be another few decades before you come by again, I imagine. And when you do, will it be our first time meeting again? Will you even be able to hear my voice anymore by then? Maybe it'd be best if I forgot everything too. Who knows? So long, maid. And take care. When an angel comes to judge me, how will his scales tilt? Towards forgiveness or towards reckoning? But you know, I don't want it to be an angel who makes that decision. No. You don't have to be an angel. You don't have to be an angel at all.
Damn. Wow. What a story. Damn, that was incredible. That was badass. I'm really glad I read all 3 of them today. Wow. Seriously, that was awesome. Wow. These side stories have been amazing. Seriously, I can't wait to see Happily Ever After, which is next time. George has finally got the last laugh there. I hope so. Freaking amazing. George's final masterpiece. Really, Apparition. But I've seen like the length of other playthroughs of the bonus section, and it's like it's 2 hours long on its own, is what I've seen. Apparition, like of the bonus section, it's like incredibly long supposedly. I know Happily Ever After is about an hour long. It's about the length of all these 3 side stories combined. The 3 side stories in Tales Wasted Away in Obscurity. We're all together. But yeah, so make sure about that, Apparition, because what I've seen of the length of things, yeah, is that the backstage is quite long. I still am thinking that it's going to be at maximum 2 more streams, basically. The backstage is like the Higurashi, it's essentially the same exact thing as the Higurashi, I think it was also called Backstage there. All cast review, yeah. It's pretty much the exact same thing, except with Fata Morgana characters. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna, it's gonna be at most 2 more streams. Yeah. But this was incredible, you guys. I love these stories. Ascento Dele and all 3 of the tales, especially the last one. We finally got to see what happened to Michel's family after he died. Like, oh my, that was crazy. And I can't wait to do the Happily Ever After too. Wow. Okay, you guys. So in 2 days, back to Artanelico on Thursday. And then the day after, we will do Happily Ever After and at the very least start the backstage. So until then, I will say, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. You're all the sweetest of hearts. See ya.